I'm Coach Shin, a total immersion swim coach based in the San Francisco Bay Area. Today, I'd like to talk about ankle mobility as it relates to swimming. So what's the issue here? Given our lack of activity lifestyles in the 21st century, oftentimes our ankles will get locked up. They will have less mobility. And what we see in swimmers that are either starting out or not as experienced, we see them actually swimming with their feet like this. And if they're kicking, they're actually kicking like this. Now normally when we see good swimmers, experienced swimmers, they'll kick like this. Right? They have the ability to point their toes, lengthening out their feet like this to reduce drag, because when you're swimming like this, these guys are brakes. They introduce more drag into your swimming and just slow you down. So of course, we at Total Immersion want you to reduce every bit of drag that you have on your body, and one of those is to increase your ankle mobility so that you can point your toes and swim with your feet like this. Now, oftentimes we can just tell swimmers, well, let's just point the toes and swim like this. And if they can do that and maintain it, then that's great, because then it's more of a motor control problem, something they can just remember. Point your toes when you swim, don't forget about them and let them be like whatever they want to be. However, a lot of people have a lot of restrictions here in their muscles and structures, such that if we ask them to point their toes, they will often get cramps because they have to resist all the muscles constraining them to this position, and they have to pull back with their calves to point them, and they end up with calf strains or calf cramps. They just use a lot of energy to point their toes when they don't have to, and they often end up starting like this, but then as they swim they start returning back to their less optimal position. So let's talk about how to increase your ankle mobility. First, I'd like to go through some soft tissue methods, and then we'll go through some movement-based methods. So the tools I like to use for this are lacrosse balls. I like to have 2 of these. These are nice and hard. These are yoga tune-up balls. They are softer, which are actually nice if you're just starting out and your muscles aren't adapted to the hardness of the lacrosse ball on them just yet. And then also, I'm using an ab mat here. You can also use a pillow, but sometimes doing some of these moves on the floor can be hard without a soft surface. So having a pillow or an ab mat or something similar is a good idea. Then it's a good idea to have a roller. This guy is the little Battle Star from Rogue Fitness. It's basically a bunch of roller skating wheels on a rod, and it's nice and firm. I find this works better than a foam roller, which can also work. So if you have one of those, that's great. You can also use that as well. All right, so let's start with what are we going to work on. So let's take a look at what's going on here. So anything that prevents this ankle from allowing the foot to lay forward, point the toe without restriction, has to do with a lot of these muscles around it and also down into the bottom of the foot that can get tight over time. And what we're going to do is use some of these tools to release some of those structures so that the ankle can just simply lay as free as possible in a pointed position without you having to strain to keep it there. Okay, so let's see. First thing let's work on is the calf. Let's see if I can get this in the camera. So put your roller down on the ground, and what you want to do is work the entire length of the calf here all the way down to what they call the heel cord. So let's take a look at this in the back. Calf from the knee all the way down into the Achilles. We call this the heel cord here. All this stuff can get really ropey and tight, and you want to release it all. There's also something called the flexor hallucis, which runs down on this side right down here too, as well. That can also get tight. So simply, we put it on here. There's a couple moves you can do. I like to put the other foot on here. You can also lift yourself up off the floor to get more weight on it, and simply move to a point and roll back and forth. Okay? You can also find a tight spot and move the foot around. Okay? Another nice way to do it is move to a spot, point your toe, move to a spot, and then firmly push down on it, and then pull the foot back. Okay, so this is called tack and floss. Move to another spot. If it's tight there, you can move back and forth a little bit. Then hold down on it, point your toe, and then pull it back as you push down. Okay? Work all the way up into the belly of the calf. Go back and forth. This is a good minute or 2 minutes per side doing this. Okay, back and forth. Oftentimes you want to go along this side as well. You can find a lot of tightness there. Get on something, you can roll your foot around. You can kind of go back and forth on it, back and forth. Or you can point the toe, land on a tight spot, and pull the foot back. Okay, pull the foot back. Okay? So that's the first thing, working on the calves. Then, there's another muscle called the peroneals. Okay, running right along the side here, right behind the tibia here. So what I like to do is take a lacrosse ball, stick it underneath the peroneals, and then just push weight on it. And as I get to a tight spot, I can move the foot back and forth, just like we did with the calf. Go up the peroneal, down the peroneals till the ankle. Go back and forth, back and forth. Okay, go to another spot, back and forth, back and forth. Go all the way down to the ankle down here. Okay, and keep doing that. All right, then another muscle which I like to do with the ab mat, because it's a little bit hard, is this is called the posterior tibialis. This can also get tight as well. It wraps around the ankle down here and then out to your big toe. So again, using this lacrosse ball, take it, press down hard into it. I find a tight spot. I can roll it down like this, back and forth. Find a tight spot, move the foot back and forth, tack and floss it, and move to another spot here, do that. You can go all the way down behind the tibia here bone, all the way around the ankle. In fact, you can do this spot right around the bottom of the ankle too. Make sure you get that too. Push the ball into it. Scrub back and forth, back and forth. That helps free up the fascia there. Okay, all the way down. Okay, so one cool thing you can do with both the peroneals and the posterior tib is to put one ball on the peroneals, take the pillow away, and then push down on the opposite side of that ball with the posterior tib, so you can get both at the same time. Pin a spot, move the foot back and forth. Roll down again, pin a spot, move back and forth. So you can kill two birds with one stone. You can do this all the way down the foot. Okay. Now the next part that is really important is this muscle called the anterior tibialis, right here on the front of the shin, outside front of the shin. So this controls the foot being brought forward. Okay. So this can get really tight, and what you can do is you can use one lacrosse ball, just put it here, and then smear across it. You can also pin a spot, move the foot back and forth, back and forth. Okay, you can definitely feel nice and tight spots here. Work all the way down the shin. Okay, all the way down. Sometimes we find it's nicer to use a double ball, like the yoga tune-up balls. What you can do is put it here. Then since there's two balls, it's less, and it's connected with this little baggie, it's less likely to just whip out from under you. You can actually get on top of it and get some weight, go back and forth, scrub back and forth, move the foot if you want, all the way down to the ankle. Okay? Now since that there's a bunch of structures that connect from the lower leg down into the foot, it's always good to work on the foot, the bottom of the foot itself. Pretty easy. Just take a lacrosse ball. Feels really good. Just scrub back and forth at the bottom of the foot. Back and forth. If you find a tight spot, wiggle the toes back and forth, back and forth. This feels pretty good. You can do it sitting, standing, while at work. Take off your shoes. Just put a ball on the ground and just roll it back and forth. It's pretty awesome just in general to ease aching feet. But it's also very important because some of these structures can get restricted and also cause ankle restrictions. All right, so that's the soft tissue part of things. Now, a lot of ankle mobility is because we are actually moving the ankle or the lower leg at the ankle in the wrong direction, or along the wrong path. So if we try to move the knee over the big toe, it will quickly get locked up because a lot of these bones here will get restricted. However, when we like to mobilize using this movement technique, we say we want to move the knee over, say, the fourth toe. Okay, so get down on the ground. You can do this kneeling. You can also do it standing. I'll show you that in a second. But move the knee as far forward as you can. Okay, without the heel coming up. Make sure the big toe ball of the foot, as well as the pinky toe ball of foot, and the heel are all down on the ground. 3 points of contact. Move it forward, back and forth like this. Okay. You may only be able to get here for now. That's okay. Make sure the path is going out to the outside. Okay. If you're going over the big toe, you may find it's much more restricted. Okay. Make sure it's going all the way out, and hopefully at some point you can get this knee pretty far forward of the big toe. Okay, go back and forth. You can go all the way back this way, right? Same thing, you can do this standing. One thing we've also done with people is go against the wall. You start with the toes against the wall, and then try to touch the wall. And if you can touch it, move it away from the wall a little bit more, see if you can still touch it, and then the wall becomes kind of a goal. You can also do it on a surface like this. This may be a little bit more comfortable because then you don't have to worry about being into such an aggressive lunge position. Let's go back and forth, 5 to 10 times. Okay. Now, if you're finding that some of the progress on that is not so good, you can also use a band to distract. I've got one sitting here, and I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this, but let's see here. I hook it around my ankle. I think you can see some of it in there. And then I get on the ground. I let it pull to the back. Okay. Then I perform the movement again. Okay, so the band helps keep the ankle in a better position. And hopefully I can slide a little better. Another thing I like to do is nice stretch is just simply getting down on your insteps, okay, like this. Put the knees, the ankles down like this, and then do your best to back onto your heels. Now this may feel really uncomfortable in the beginning, so just use your hands just to support you. Get back as far as you can, okay? And slowly work into it. If you get to a tight spot, feel like you're cramping even, stop. Take 3 diaphragmatic breaths. With each breath, just relax into the position and try to go a little further. Repeat, 3 more breaths. Okay. Once you can get here, you can even be more aggressive on the stretch by lifting up on the front knee. See if you can get that high, get that whole instep stretched all the way. I can feel it all the way up my lower leg. Okay. Now my right side is more restricted. I don't know if you can see it, but actually my toes feel like they're being cramped pretty hard, and I can't quite get up as high, but I'm working on it. You can kind of go back and forth. Shift the weight, make sure it's even across all toes instead of just one toe. Yeah, a lot of work on this side. Okay, so some soft tissue work and then some movement-based ankle releases. some with the band. Hope you can still see that in the video. And keep working on this every day if you can. Every day when you get up, just do this, and hopefully over time your ankles will be able to go, let your foot go, point your toes back in the back, reducing all that drag that's being caused by the feet that are cranked up like this, and your swimming should improve.